Hi, my name is Fiona from Tavua, and I love listening to Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Good evening, Fiji. In this bulletin, Rambuka insists party leadership should be advertised. 7 million spent on Central Division roads. And hunt on for hit-and-run driver.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Jackie Spate.
SODELPA party leader Sitiveni Rambuka insists that it is time for his position to be advertised. This comes amid confirmation by the Register of Political Parties that the positions of party leader and those of the acting president and 2 vice presidents lapsed on June 30th. The Fijian Elections Office says that SODELPA is now in a constitutional crisis. Lena Rees has more.
Rambuka says that in 2019, the SODELPA Management Board agreed that he should continue as party leader, even though a losing party leader isn't allowed by the party constitution to continue.
In my case, I did not only allow the constitution to play out, I also wrote a resignation letter, which was held and has not been approved.
Rambuka stressed that SODELPA should now advertise the position of party leader.
And if things had gone on normally, we didn't have a court case to go through, etc., then our annual general meeting, the proper one for the next party leader to be appointed, would have happened prior to the 30th of June.
General Secretary MLN Inductee maintains that it has extended the casual appointment of its acting president and 2 acting vice presidents, but it's quite about Rambuka's demand for the party leader position to be advertised. However, Inductee says she needs more consultation and legal advice to determine whether the casual extension of the acting president and 2 vice presidents are in line with the party constitution, despite not being able to hold a party AGM by the cutoff date of 30th June.
I mean, what is encouraging, shall I say, is the last line, which actually says the Register of Political Parties is an independent office and leaves it to SODELPA to handle this matter appropriately.
Meanwhile, SODELPA has issued a 21 days notice to its members of its special general meeting scheduled to be held on the 25th of this month. Lena Rees, FBC News.
The Fiji Roads Authority has spent an estimated $7 million on road rehabilitation in the Central Division following Tropical Cyclone Harold. Several roads in Suva and around the area extensively pocketed with potholes, which have ignited frustration, especially with travellers along the Suva-Nausori corridor. As Jasaina Nunga reports, the FRA has assured their rehabilitation will sustain road conditions for over 20 years.
Jonathan Moore anticipates the spending on road rehabilitation to increase due to the extent of work.
I think it'll probably be early August because we've been hit by a few weather issues in June. We didn't start the rehabilitations until June because we'd made a decision going forward that rehabilitations will take place between June and October every year, rather than try and do it through the winter, which is basically a waste of time and money.
The FRA confirms that delays in roadwork in most parts of Suva is due to the unfavorable weather over the past few months. However, rehabilitation is progressing well on sections of Princess Road, Ratu Sukuna Road, Fletcher Roads, Nambour Commercial Area, Kasanji Street and the Nambour Bypass.
It depends on what work we actually do. If we just reseal or we do rehabilitation, because rehabilitation is far more expensive than reseal. But what I can say is that the final number will be very cost effective when you consider how much we spend on the old pothole repairs in the past.
Hopefully the work is done soon to ensure the road condition in the Central Division is up to standard.
Good investment by FRA and hopefully same work is done on roads in other parts of Fiji.
The authority plans to carry out rehabilitation in Nandi and LABASA in the next financial year. Jasaina Nunga, FBC News.
The police force and the Land Transport Authority are searching for a hit-and-run driver after a man was killed on the Queen's Road in Lautoka on Monday. The man was found lying motionless in a pool of blood at about 11:30 p.m. near a service station on the Queen's Road in Saweni. The man was taken to Lautoka Hospital and pronounced dead on arrival. LTA Chief Executive Samuel Simpson says the driver of the vehicle that struck the man will know he hit a pedestrian and his vehicle will have been damaged. The LTA is following up with all vehicle repairers, asking them to report any vehicles that come in that might have damage consistent with striking down a pedestrian. They're also calling on the insurance industry to report any new vehicle damage claims. The Environment Ministry is exploring legal options against a poultry farm for dumping wet chicken waste on the Queen's Highway in Navua. Permanent Secretary Joshua Wycliffe says a prohibition notice was given to the company to stop irresponsible dumping. The poultry farm was also ordered to restore and rehabilitate the area where they had been dumping the chicken waste. However, Wycliffe says this was not done, and their department is now considering legal options.
The penalties are huge. It can be anything up to $1 million, and the Environment Management Act talks about 5 times that if it's a corporate body. So we've got plenty of penalty options. Of course, you know, there are also things like first-time offense, second-time offense, and all that.
A virtual development training course has been launched to assist Fijians who are suffering from the economic crisis caused by the pandemic. The United Nations Development Programme, United Nations Capital Development Fund, Australia Pacific Training Coalition and the Pacific Tourism Organisation have formed this unique partnership to allow Fijians in the tourism and hospitality sector to acquire new knowledge and find alternative employment. Pranita Prakash reports.
The uncertainty on when the pandemic will end should not stop Fijians from learning new skills.
Approximately 1,500 odd Fijians in the industry will have an opportunity to learn new skills and enhance productivity. It may also encourage those employees to start their own businesses.
The effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on all of our economies has been devastating. This is a time of true heartbreak, but also a time for us to create opportunities and to be proactive.
Micro-credential courses will initially focus on 40 unemployed staff from the tourism and hospitality sector.
They have not been identified yet. Those are going to be the areas that we will work with the other stakeholders on. Obviously there'll be applications that will come through and people will be selected based on where they think that those skills will be of use to them.
This program will help the trainees acquire new skill sets, motivating them to find new jobs, start new ventures in order to support their livelihoods.
The courses provided by APTC will comprise of micro-credential courses, which will be a prerequisite for an additional skills course. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
Up ahead, artists call for urgent review of Copyright Act, and families receive much-needed assistance.
Radio Fiji One, Nandomo Iviti.
Local musicians say there is an urgent need to review the Copyright Act 1999. Following recurring copyright issues and illegal downloading of original music, the Fiji Performing Rights Association says it could be losing potential millions in royalties. This was part of a submission by FPRA to the Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs and Defence last week. Vinina Rakautonga with the story.
Local musicians don't know how much money they have lost in royalties, but it could run to millions due to copyright infringements.
The rampant and frequent and reckless, I might say, downloading and uploading of music and sharing. Perhaps not knowing that it is illegal and infringing the Copyright Act at that.
Chairman Eremasi Tamanisau says music is an essential source of livelihood for local artists.
The submissions that we are making will go a long way into supporting the means of their livelihood. And having said that, it is not only for local composers, it is for the, because of reciprocal agreements that we have, FPRA also looks after the international repertoire.
Board member and singer Laisa Vulokoro says the association has organized awareness campaigns on copyright issues, but nothing has changed.
We had numerous interviews with radio stations, with television stations on copyright awareness and, talking about piracy and all that. We've done a lot of awareness programs.
The Fiji Performance Rights Association, in their bid to protect local musicians, hope the committee will take notice of their plea to review the Copyright Act and take action. Venina Rakautonga, FBC News.
The Ministry of Health has highlighted the need to ensure nurses and all frontline workers are protected as the first responders during any disease outbreak or pandemic. In collaboration with UNICEF, the ministry is looking at ways to protect these workers at the forefront, who have screened 93% of our population. Koroi Tandolala reports.
The collaboration aims to provide evidence-based practices that will ensure all nurses in Fiji and the Pacific are safe.
Nurses, as I've said before, are at the front line and they are at the backbone. They man the hospital. They are part of our mobile fever teams that screen 93% of Fiji. They assist in quarantine facilities and they continue to do so. They are the first port of call when a person comes to the fever clinics. And they've been doing all this even before the onset of the pandemic.
And something that is profoundly threatened by this global pandemic. That is why it's so important that frontline health workers have access to the best knowledge and the best applicability of this knowledge.
UNICEF representative to the Pacific, Sheldon Yet, says the nurses' safety remains a priority.
There's some 6,000 nurses around the Pacific who will have the benefits of getting this information here. These nurses, as the minister quite rightly said, are the frontline workers. They are the bread and butter of universal health care, something all of us are working hard to achieve in the Pacific.
The two organizations are working with their Pacific counterparts to help the more than 5,000 frontline workers to manage any surge of COVID-19 infections while continuing to deliver quality essential health services. Koroi Tandolala, FBC News.
The Fijian Broadcasting Corporation's 6 radio stations today handed out food items to needy families reeling from the effects of the pandemic. 6 families were selected by the public in partnership with FBC's radio stations to be assisted under the Needy Assistance Initiative. Koroi Tandolala reports.
Usenia from Gawea village in Lami says her husband is no longer working and has been in prison for the past 2 weeks for breaching curfew.
Life is pretty tough these days and I have 2 children staying with me. This assistance will greatly help us.
58-year-old Urmila Lata from Nambua Suva, who stays with her 19-year-old daughter, says the pandemic and her underlying health issues have greatly affected their source of income.
We're just staying home and eat what we have, and sometimes we only have 1 meal in a day.
It's about us giving back to the community. We want to do the same as well for our Easter celebrations as well, and also for Diwali.
With COVID-19 affecting a lot of people's livelihood, Today FM program director Mario Fasala says this particular initiative will help those in need.
I am praying for everyone in these hard times that we're living in. I may not know everyone in our country, but I know that we're all going through hard times.
So this is an initiative, it's an ongoing thing. It will continue, and these are just some of the families that were nominated by people, our fans.
Fasala says it is important for Fijians to work together during this crisis and help each other overcome their difficulties. Koroi Tandolala, FBC News.
The LABASA sugar mill resumed crushing this morning after taking a scheduled stop yesterday. Fiji Sugar Corporation Chief Executive Officer Graham Clark says the mill scheduled a stop to repair 2 leaking boiler tubes. Clark told FBC News the repair work has been completed and the mill restarted crushing earlier today. He adds the LABASA mill has achieved improved mechanical efficiency so far. After 4 weeks of crushing, the mill has crushed 86,527 tonnes of cane. Clark says this has produced an estimated 7,500 tonnes of sugar. To Australia, where their second largest city is returning to lockdown after Melbourne recorded its highest number of COVID cases in 1 day. And Whitney joins us now with business.
Thanks, Jackie. Coming up in business tonight, Nandi business thrives despite pandemic effects. And work on WYBULA crossing in Taviuni begins. Stay with us.
हाय, हम शहर प्रकाश बात करते हैं और तावा में मिर्ची FM सबकंसर and मिर्ची FM it's hot.
Mirchi FM, it's hot.
A local wholesaler of New Zealand potatoes and onions in Nadi has seen business skyrocket over the past few months despite the pandemic. Fijians from far as Lautoka and Nadi have been flocking to Cambridge farms of Sambetter to stock up on their supplies. Felipe Nakaso has the story.
Potatoes and onions are basic food items, and during this tough time, this wholesaler has made life easier for Fijians.
Because coronavirus time, people don't have money, so we put it 99 cents kg. Yeah. They're happy to come to their get 99 cents kg. Yeah.
They began operations in 2007 with business doing well, but from the beginning of this year, sales have reached a new level.
That's why we are keeping 99 cents kg. So our boss is in New Zealand, so he supplies from there. In the month, if the stock lasted 300 bags, then he said.
Meanwhile, around Nadi, Fijians who have lost their jobs continue to be resilient by ensuring they provide for their family. 35-year-old Riaz Ali, a former Hilton Resort staff, has resorted to selling on the roadside.
Selling for my family, to feed my family. Better than stay home. Do something, some routes for people who's working here hard. Sometimes the taxi driver just come for just pick $1. Na?
The two businesses may not be at similar scale, however, the determination to continue providing services during tough times remain a priority. Felipe Naikaso, FBC News.
The Fiji National Provident Fund has disbursed its second fortnightly payment for Phase 2 of the COVID-19 withdrawal scheme. More than 21,000 members received 4.7 million yesterday, of which 2.6 million was the government top-up portion. Of those, more than 5,000 received their first installment of $220. Chief Executive Chochi Koroi says the number of applications that have come in so far is lower than expected. Koroi says this may be due to a few factors such as members returning to work, living in remote areas with no contact, and those who may have found other source of income. He adds the fund believes some members may be more cautious of the importance of not withdrawing their retirement savings. Approximately 650 member applications are still pending a decision with the employers and have missed the deadline for Cycle 2. The third payment cycle will be on July 21st, and the deadline for new applications is July 17th. Gary from HFC Bank joins us now with the latest from the stock market.
The US dollar held on to gains as a resurgence of the coronavirus in the US and the return of lockdowns in some countries boosted safe haven demand for the dollar. Along with this, US job openings unexpectedly increased to 5.4 million in May. The increase was concentrated in accommodation, food services, retail, and construction sectors. Closer to home, sentiment for the Aussie dollar took a hit after coronavirus measures were reimposed in Melbourne yesterday, while the Reserve Bank of Australia kept its interest rates unchanged at 0.25%. The Kiwi dollar was little changed after the global dairy trade price index increased by 8.3%. The index is a leading indicator of New Zealand's trade balance, as rising dairy prices boost export income, which accounts for close to 30% of the country's exports. The euro strengthened against the US dollar overnight as German industrial production picked up in May by 7.8%. The resumption of car production contributed strongly, although it remained well below pre-crisis levels. And that's all from HFC Bank for now. Naka.
Turning to today's exchange rates as set this morning, it was a bit of a mixed bag for the Fiji dollar today. It gained against the Aussie dollar, the PNG kina and the euro, but slipped slightly against the other currencies we cover. On the commodities market, prices were on the rise. Crude oil prices crept higher, now nearing $41 a barrel. Gold was up $10 at $1,793 per ounce, and silver gained a few cents to close at $18.28 an ounce. The Fiji Roads Authority is currently replacing the WYBULA crossing north of Taveuni. FRA Chief Executive Officer Jonathan Moore confirms they are replacing the existing crossing with a 60-meter box culvert. He says this will improve access for about 6,000 people who live on the north side of Taveuni, connecting them to the main Taveuni road network. Moore adds work is in progress and expected to be completed by October. Minister for Infrastructure Choneo Simate visited the construction site last week and was briefed on the construction's progress. The low crossing has always been subject to flooding during heavy downpours. That's it from Business Tonight. We now join Jamie with the latest in sports.
Thanks, Whitney, and good evening in Sports Tonight. Good news for local football fans. An historical day for women's rugby. This and more coming up.
My name is Enrico. I love listening to Today FM. Today FM rocks in Suba.
Today's hit music on Today FM.
Fiji football fans are in for a treat with the return of the sport this Saturday. For the first time, the Vodafone Premier League will be aired live on free-to-air television. The Fijian Broadcasting Corporation today signing a 3-month agreement with the Fiji Football Association for weekly live coverage of EPL matches on the FBC Sports Channel. Tale Materakula reports.
Saturday's game will be the first in a series of live VPL matches. For the next 3 months, the FBC Sports Channel will feature live weekly VPL coverage on the WYCLIFFE platform.
We're very pleased and thankful to the Fiji Football Association for finally relenting and allowing us to show one live game a week. We need this as a country now more than ever, and we'll keep this going for the next 3 months, and we'll see how we go from there.
This means a total of 12 VPL matches will be aired live and free on FBC Sports.
It's a testament to the fact how hard the FBC team is working, and the work that we're doing to bring a little bit more entertainment and joy to sports fans around the country.
FIGFA President Rajesh Patel says this is an historic occasion.
It is a big historical event. It is the first time that Vodafone Premier League will be shown live, and it won't be the last one.
The president has also revealed that other tournaments may be aired in the future.
And we are also assessing, and we'll be putting out tenders that the live tournaments will be shown too.
The first live and free VPL match, Navu's clash against Mba, will be aired on FBC Sports on the WYCLIFFE platform Saturday at 3 p.m. Tale Materkula, FBC Sports.
Today marked a historic occasion for women's rugby in the country, with 30 players inducted into the first ever Women's Rugby High Performance Academy. The setup an integral part of Fiji Rugby Union's women's development pathway. Aquila Dama with the details.
It's a proud day for women's rugby as FRU officially started the journey for Women's High Performance Unit.
You know, it's exciting times ahead, and me and all the girls, we just can't wait. We're all looking really forward to taking the next step.
It was an emotional moment for the FRU boss, knowing the challenges along the way for our women ruggers when he took over in 2016. But today, 23 elites and 7 apprentices are part of the pathway program.
We are happy that we are able to create this pathway. We've signed on 30 players. I reminded the players today that you know, their positions, their contracts are not set in stone. We expect some sort of behavior, change in mindset.
It's great to be able to give these ladies the same opportunities that are afforded our men's programs, and we're really working towards that inclusivity. World Rugby, one of World Rugby's pillars at the moment is the ladies of the women's game.
This is a great opportunity for someone like 19-year-old HARINA ERASITO, who wants to rise to another level in rugby.
I've been playing for Fiji for the past few years for my grades, but haven't won the Fijiana senior team. So it really encouraged me, and it actually pushed me further to do better than how I was.
The Fiji National Sports Commission is advising its sporting bodies that the allocation for the 2020-2021 budget to the Commission will most likely be less than desired. The Commission received more than $12 million in funding for sporting activities in the government's 2019-20 national budget. Chair Peter Mazie says in light of the current pandemic, the Commission understands the funds allocated by the Ministry of Economy will be very stringent.
Indicated to the sporting bodies and spoken to them that
due to the current circumstances, there have been major discounts on what is available. So at the moment, we haven't had another meeting with the Ministry of Economy, but we're looking at hoping that we can get enough funding to look after the Olympics and our overseas tour.
Southern Hemisphere rugby could be in for a major shake-up with doubts over the ongoing existence of SANZA. News Hub sources have indicated the governing body could disband altogether, leaving international unions to go it alone after learning of key recommendations that emerged from a report commissioned by New Zealand Rugby. Chelsea further strengthened its position in the Premier League's top four with a 3-2 victory over Crystal Palace in an entertaining encounter this morning. In other English Premier League games today, Arsenal drew 1-1 with Leicester and Watford beat Norwich 2-1. In today's Play of the Day, we take a look at Jamie Vardy's equaliser in the 84th minute that gave Leicester City a vital point to keep their Champions League hopes on track and end Arsenal's recent winning streak. That's it from Sports Tonight.
Bula FM number 2 and seri.
And Angie joins us now with the latest in weather.
Hola and welcome to the Weather World. It was a split setup today, cloudy, dull and damp with mild mugginess. That fully describes the day. Hoping the day gets better in time for the weekend. Now moving on, checking the day's health. In the west, a cloudy start with some outbreaks of rain, but mostly dry spots. The night will remain cool. Eastwards from Pakaba to Suva, very rainy with some low-lying areas prone to flash flooding. The road is quite slippery, so motorists take care. And up north, the rain spread out here as well. The night will have few showers as well. At sea, southeast winds 25 to 30 knots, rough to very rough seas. Now turning to the tides, high tide at 9:25 p.m. with low tide at 3:15 a.m. Sunrise at 6:38. For tomorrow, this rain is not going anywhere soon, so we'll have to befriend our umbrellas for some time. Tomorrow's temps, the hidden paradise of Fiji will be the coolest spot in the country at 28 degrees. And looking further on to Friday, the jolly good one, the showers will ease and